whenever life kind of is happening to us all in the moment, it's good to know that we're all going to get through it together, and we're all going to deal with the challenges that are upon us all. And this is a stress. This is another layer of complexity that people deal with day in and day out, just to add to the coals on the fire, so to speak.
The normal stress that we already had.
That's right.
That's not normal, really, but it is now.
But your body, interestingly, like I know for myself, I didn't sleep well last night. I apparently, the wind kept howling or knocking so I think the basketball goal next door kept rocking back and forth.
Wow.
And then it would thump down, and it sounded like it was banging on the side of my house. And I'm like, wow, like that's crazy. I mean, what's going on out there? And then I went outside and realized, one of the cats, he didn't make it in. And he was upset. He was a little upset.
Oh,
he was a little upset.
Leave your babies outside during the storm. That's kind of scary, dude.
But we did. He made it in safely. He's all good. He's happy. But how is everybody out there? We do this podcast live. So for those that are live with us, we'd love to know how you're doing. For those that are going to come back and re-listen to this podcast, Jennifer and I were talking on the way in, and kind of the theme is, kind of even what you said, Gardy, like making sense of the chaos around us. I mean, we do have a lot of chaos going on outside of just, weather, don't we?
Always. Like, there's always that chaos, right? I mean, even, yesterday, I'm sure, Sunday night when they canceled school for Monday, and then some people are trying to deal with, okay, well, how do I go to work? And my kids aren't going, and all of that kind of stuff. And everybody's trying to figure out how to manage things as they're changing, and that flexibility, that ability to adapt is something that we're always wanting to help people do, because if you can adapt to the things that life is bringing you throughout the days, then it doesn't really matter. We just take the next thing. The body
and that's one of the coolest things that I really appreciate about the observations my clinic has shown me over the years, that the body wants to adapt. And we just need to.
It will adapt.
It will adapt.
It is adapting.
That's true.
Whether or not we want to let it or not.
Okay, so I'll say it this way then. It is adapting. Now we can help it navigate the adaptation process for the positive, where instead of life always driving a cortisol stress response, a sympathetic overdrive, what we call fight or flight degenerative response, you can almost program the body's adaptation process to navigate the pitfalls, the curveballs, the challenges in such a way that even if you aren't supplementing heavy, because in the beginning we knew we had to set you up to 2 or 3 record trucks and pull you out the mud because you were so deep in your health curve, right? But now we don't have to be as aggressive. There's products that I don't take anymore, not because I don't want to take them, I just don't need them.
Because you're already adapting. You've learned
adapting.
To adapt, right? And that's the thing. And so I remember early on, we worked with me on sleep, right? You talked about sleep last night, that you didn't sleep really well. And, every location had different sounds. I know I've heard a couple of friends already say, my mom said her fence, part of her fence is down. A friend of mine says the fence is down, part of their fence is down. So, if your fence is falling down, that's more likely to wake you up, right? Last night when our power went out, it flickered 3 or 4 times, and every time it kept coming back on, the microwave would beep and woke me up. But then after that, the power went out and it was quiet. And I just listened, and I was listening to the wind, and I was like, well, it sounds like a storm, but nothing crazy. I was like, I can't do anything about it. So
do you have windows in your room?
I do. I have windows.
I know, isn't that crazy?
There wasn't rain beating down or anything?
I don't know. Maybe it's just positioned just perfectly, because literally
I'm thinking
house,
the same way.
At my house, I was like, it's just not any more than a normal storm. So I just went back to sleep.
It's perspective, I guess. Yeah.
Or some people, and that's the other. That's an adaptation that she has.
Well, remember in the beginning though, I thought I was asleep and wasn't asleep, right? Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't sleep 3 or 4 hours at night. And so now, it's like my body goes, hey, this is a good idea. Let's just go ahead and sleep through this. Like there's really nothing I could do. And I knew, actually, I mean, maybe you're the person in your house that keeps up with all that, but I knew my daughter who was upstairs, she would be the one.
Wow.
She would be the one that would hear it if it was a problem.
If anything's going
she
wrong,
would alert
put
us.
it on. Yeah,
She
yeah,
would
yeah.
alert us, right? Like the world's falling apart, Mom. I'm like, and she never came down, so I was like, it might not be that bad. It must not be that bad. I'm gonna sleep right through it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, the people that are awake, if you're stressed, I mean, one of the things that we encourage people at Living Well is to do is to know your tools. And
Take
if you're
your supplements.
stressed, right?
Yeah,
You're stressed
you got
and you can't
tools.
sleep. So if you're not sleeping because there's a stress response, your body's just churning through your minerals, and you just need to supplement heavy. So this morning, as these people are, trying to, well, that was a sucky night's sleep, and trying to figure
Right.
out what to do, we start to look at what can we do, and you have to recognize your body just churned through a bunch of minerals that you probably didn't have extra to begin with, and
So you
you
better
need to
load
wake
up
up this
today.
morning and start loading up. Otherwise, when those kids wake up and they don't have school and they're running around and
No
trying
power.
to figure out if there's
Right.
power or the power comes on and off, and because we just don't know how much that's going to happen and how much if there's going to be another little round of wind. And
It's adaptation again. It's another curveball that we're going to have to deal with on the fly. And although the body will adapt, as you made clear, we can make sure that we're doing our part. And the message is simple, like stay to your tools. Like if you are a patient at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, you know that we are avid advocates for stimulating and upregulating the endocrine system, the hormonal axes, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, the thyroid, the adrenal glands, the gonadal system, and making sure that your stress response is handling your world at the best level possible, as opposed to getting pelted by the waves. You're riding waves. And I think that's what we want to see. And people always remember, hey, hopefully you did some level of preparation. Hopefully you've got a good breakfast you can have. Hopefully you've had some water this morning. Hopefully you're starting your day, just in an attitude of gratitude, a thankful place, that you still have, we have first world problems over here. Our fences blow down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those are real challenges. They're inconveniences. But it could be way worse. And so when I think our glandular system is really solid and it is firing, and I mean that the thyroid's metabolic diesel pump is really working for you. When your adrenal response stress system is like, that's not a fire that I need to turn into something more than it is. Like, we don't need crazy in our lives, right? We've got enough.
we make crazy.
I know, but I think that we make crazy because we don't have a strong constitution, from a biochemical perspective. And I think that if we feed into the biochemistry well, it naturally will navigate like, oh, that's not that big of a deal.
You start to realize that your problems are these first world problems. It's just an inconvenience that the fence is down, right? It's going to be a little bit of financial stress for some people to be able to do that, but it's an inconvenience. It's not the same as not having food, right? It's not the same. So although I think we were put on this planet and this earth at this time in this place, so these are the stresses that
We
we
deal
are
with.
to learn how to navigate. And I think God's going to use these things for us, whereas he might use, for other people, it might be actual hunger and things, because those people are born and placed in a different time. But God uses everything to bring us to himself. So it really doesn't matter if it's fences down or financial stresses or, school problems or behavior issues. It doesn't really matter. God's going to use it all. And all, we have to do is we have to rise up and understand, what can I do to take care of this temple that God gave me?
Even in the midst of the storm. Is it an excuse that, but I mean, I think that it's easy to get caught up in the storm. We can always go back to the picture of, the disciples on the water, focused on the storm and afraid. And who was sleeping?
Jesus was sleeping.
Why was Jesus sleeping?
He wasn't.
Tools in our tool bag. We have and Arnold Schwarzenegger dresses up with a weird mustache and a weird wig, and he's walking around the gym harassing people in the gym. And this lady's over there drinking water. He's like, "I want you to do 10 more reps of drinking water."
10 more sips, yeah.
But we have a friend who's just like that. He's a strong man, and he lifts big boulders in his backyard, and he runs backwards up and down hills, and he's a crazy man. And I'm sure his neighbors feel the same. And yet his number one thing that he tells his patients is, if you won't drink water, you won't be a patient of mine. Whoa, settle down, But is water that important that we can't? We need to talk about it often to remind you that keep it simple.
Right, if you always have to start with the basics, right? I think that sometimes we want to do these complicated things, and we forget that we need the foundation to make it happen, right? And so if you don't have that foundation, you don't have a good place to start, something to build on. We like to try to do gymnastics without having a foundation.
So let's talk about what are some of the foundational things that we can do to empower our body. Anybody got any ideas?
What you got, Gardy?
I was going to say water. I know we were just talking about it. I feel like, you should be hydrated.
So how much water should we be consuming a day?
I believe it's about 120 ounces.
That's a good, but you got to be careful, though, because you can't necessarily recommend that for a 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? Or if somebody's, excessively heavy, they might need more.
Mm-hmm.
So that people's water needs, there's ratios. So we can play a liter of water per 50 pounds of body weight. That's a safe bet. The reality is people come in, and more often than not, they are dehydrated. And they're typically dehydrated for two major reasons. They either don't have enough minerals, so it is as simple as taking extra minerals. So we use a product called Mineral Force, Aspartic Multi-Min, Intramin liquids. We've got all kinds of different mineral intake procedures that we use in our protocols, because minerals are like plugging your phone into your power outlet. Without powering it up, it'll run out of juice.
Mm-hmm.
So minerals are pretty much the juice that powers every cell, every tissue, every organ, every gland, every neuron to fire like it was designed to fire. Without minerals, you're in TROUBLE land, trouble. Nobody wants to be in trouble land. We want to be in the, riding the waves again, not getting pelted by them. So I think dehydration is a mineral glitch, and just a flat out, I'm not drinking enough. One lady goes, I drink 4 of those bottles a day. So we did the math, and I said, yeah, but you need 8 of those bottles a day. She goes, that's impossible. Well, with that attitude, yeah.
It's going to be impossible.
I said, but what if you could go to 5? Could you do 5 today? And she goes, well, yeah, I can do 5. I said, well, then do 5 today. It doesn't have to be perfect. And are you making every degree? So what if today she does 5, and tomorrow she does 5, and the next day she does 5.5? Because I told her, I said, you need 8. Like we did the math. 8 is your magic number. You're going to be better at 8. Can you strive for 8? Yes. Because she's taking her supplements, she says. So I have to believe that she's doing her part on that front. So it's helping keep her less dehydrated, but she's still got some problems. That's why she's still feeling ails and pains and stuff going on in the body. And so that's an easy, wonderful way. Just push yourself to drink 1 16-ounce level up 16 ounces than you did yesterday. Oh, but I don't even know how much I drank yesterday. Well, okay, let's play a different game. How about we measure, see how many ounces of water you're drinking per day? Let's just get an idea. Let's do an analysis check. You can't expect what you don't inspect. So we've got to make sure that we're evaluating the simple.
Do you remember, I don't remember if you remember, our first conversation when I was a patient, before I was a clinician, about water. And he's on the phone.
I thought our
with
first
me
conversation was
about water. Just the first conversation about water.
Oh, okay.
We had lots of conversations.
So she just says there's lots of first conversations.
Right, but we have this first conversation about water. It's a Saturday morning. He's on the phone with me, and he says, so what I want you to do is I want you to drink 16 ounces of water in the first 10 minutes that you wake up, and I want you to drink 16 more ounces within the next hour. And I was like, dude.
Okay,
Like, I
that
don't
seems
drink.
hard. Like
I was
8
like,
bottles of water is okay, but that
See?
seems difficult,
And,
right?
and that was like my exact response. I was like, dude, you're nuts. And he's like, okay, do it or don't. I was like, don't like it when he says that.
Choice is
right?
yours,
Your
right?
choice is yours, right? So he lays it in my. Oh, he says, you do it or don't. And I was like, all right, we'll do it once, right? Because you got to do something once. Because I can't tell him that it doesn't work if he don't do it once. So I wake up the next morning, and I do it. And I don't know how many people have told me, oh, I can't. But I did it anyway. I told him, I'm like, I won't eat all day if I drink 32 ounces of water, because, like, dude, that's more water than I drink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the time,
In the last 5 days.
I mean, that was like a day's worth of water back then. So I'm like, okay, whatever, but I won't eat breakfast. And he's like, okay, I don't care. Don't eat breakfast, right? You know, he's just going to let me do whatever I want to do. And so I drank my 16 ounces of water, chugged that down. And then the next hour, it's pretty easy because he had me on 1,400 supplements. Of course.
Because you got to drink some water with those.
Because I needed it. So, because I needed the supplements, got that second 16 ounces of water. I'll tell you that first morning, within that 10 minutes, I just felt my whole organ system. I could actually feel my system turning on. You could just feel your body turning on. You're like,
you're making me want to drink
wow.
some water right now.
I know. I'm like, I'm so thirsty. I was like, we got to stop talking so we can drink water. But, you know, you're like, you put that in and you go, oh. So now, on a normal, typical day, today wasn't quite typical. I'm probably only at about 24 ounces this morning. But on a typical day, by the time I get rocking and rolling and I leave for work, I've already had 48 ounces of water. So am I going to have any trouble getting my 8 bottles of water in?
Probably not.
No,
Probably not.
not when you've already had 3 or 4 before you even go to work in the morning.
I think the secret's the supplements. The more supplements you take, the easier it is to drink the water in the
Well,
morning.
But interesting, to some degree, there could be some truth to that because, like, we just don't realize it's an intentional thing. If you're willing to stop long enough to take your vitamins, you're also willing to be intentional about your water intake. They say that people that have high tendencies, people that want to, I don't know if this is one of those fake stats that Jennifer was talking about last week, but here's they say that people do better, they live longer if they have a dog. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I know that the 2 dogs that I have, is even the amount of work they bring me a fair amount of, like, calm and peace. I like all their little mannerisms and dispositions, and being at the age I am now, compared to being like my kids. My kids don't pay attention to the patterns that dogs have, but I sure as heck do. I mean, I know when I know their bathroom schedule. I know how if I crack an egg, Jennifer's dog can hear the rattle of carrots together. She can, like, bang 2 carrots together, and the dog can hear it from outside. I mean, the animals are just an interesting thing. So,
is that animal cruelty, feeding your dogs carrots, or is that?
I'm sure that somewhere somebody would probably frown upon it because they think they need to eat fake canned food. But what do we know about?
Talk about treats. My dog
gets the good
thinks
stuff?
that
Yes,
carrots. My dog thinks carrots are like.
But you got to remember, they got
century.
a beautiful little system too, like make-believe food.
Make-believe health.
Make-believe health for animals as well. And so, we're very we're science geeks.
So it's interesting that you bring up the dog thing, though, because last week we were talking about the longevity paradox by Dr. Gundry, and there's about 6 spots in that book where he says, "Go get a dog." And one of the things that he references there, and so we talked about water and the importance of water, but also with the dogs, one of the other things that we need to do as a foundation is to move. And so the sedentary lifestyle that people live, the dog actually
forces you to go do something.
Forces you out of bed. Like
we got elderly patients that have a dog, and the dog takes them for a walk.
I got kids that do that. So do I need a dog?
not while you have kids.
Okay, good,
not while
good,
you
good.
have kids, but
you're still on the knees yourself. You are the dog.
Yeah.
You're the dog. They ride you. And
that's true.
They walk you.
It was yesterday. Yeah,
that's
for
right.
sure.
And they know your bathroom schedule, interestingly. They come into the bathroom and why? And you're like, yes, can I help you?
Right. Yeah.
That's funny. So, but yes, I think that there are things that we can do pattern-wise. And we just talked about water. I mean, then we go into, but I guess the message I wanted to say there is intentionality. Like, if you just let life happen to you, you might not like the outcome. If you're intentional with the day, like inventory today. Like, so, because today might be one of those one-off days, but inventory every, hour what you've done in the last hour. Will take you about 15, 20 seconds to jot it down on a note, book paper, and see what all you accomplished on a one-off day where it's out of your,
the norm.
Out of the norm.
Right.
And what were you able to accomplish? And the people that will take the time to inventory their day will be more productive today because of intentionality. They're bringing attention to, well, what did I do the last hour? I watched the news for an hour. Well, what good did that do you? You know what I mean? You already know what's going on out there. Nobody's doing anything. There's no power. There's, fences blown down. Find something to be productive. Read a book or do your studies or
go hang out with a friend.
Or go hang out with a friend.
Go help a friend.
Go help a friend.
Yeah, move some trees, limbs, or something you can do. Yeah.
And there comes in what she was talking about, like movement. If the dude don't move.
The dude don't groove.
I mean, these principles, they sound funny, when I've said them in the past, but my hope and desire is that we say them so often that they are your ideas, and you naturally start recognizing that, oh, I'm not moving enough. I need to go do something, or I got a headache and I don't need your brain doesn't go, I need a Tylenol. Your brain goes, have my bowels moved good today? Have I had enough water today? Have I eaten in the last hour or 2 hours or 3? Where am I at in my blood sugar swing? Because headaches can be a number of issues too. It could be water. It could be hunger. It could be stress. So there's just so many, instead of like pill for an ill, people go, well, you give pills too. Yeah, but we give nutrients. We're not manipulating your chemistry. We're feeding into the software so that so that your body can code better. You know what I mean? It's like we say, you know what? There's a training glitch in Department 6. We need to go ahead and upregulate that. That's cool. You mean I can do that? Yes. This guy yesterday says to me, because he comes in for every 6 to 8 weeks for a heart sound test. And our heart sound recorder, if you guys don't know what this is a cool valvular heart test that evaluates valve function. And we can see in the first sound and second sounds of your heart, that lub-dub sound, is if it should be 2/3 bigger than your second sound. And if it's not, then you have a weak first sound pump. And that's a glitch. Typically B vitamins, typically minerals can fix that. It's potassium, alkaline ash minerals, or just there's a particular B vitamin, B4, but the full water-soluble complex is a very useful tool in this to turn that first sound volume up so that you get better ejection fractions and you get more blood flow out to the tissues. Because when your heart pumps, you want to make sure that there's enough pressure and enough volume that you can get blood to your top of your crown to the bottoms of your feet, right?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
It sounds really good, and we take it for granted that that's happening, right? And so we can look at these tests. Well, this guy comes in, he goes, okay, well, we're looking at it, and it actually looked pretty good. He did have a couple glitches in that S1 sound, and we had to so we changed some of his program 8 weeks ago, so we were cutting some things back, and nope, can't do that yet. We got to kind of crank that one back up a bit. And he goes, well, why do I need the this product and this product? I said, well, this product, Drenamin, feeds his stress hormonal response. And this product, this adaptogen, stimulates the adrenals to do a job. So one is nourishing the tissues to heal, recover, regenerate, repair, to have the tools that it needs to do a job. And then the other one is a programmer or a manager that I'm, every time I take the product, I'm hiring a boss to come in there and make sure everything's up to snuff. An inspector to make sure that all the T's are getting crossed and all the I's are getting dotted and everybody's doing their job most effectively with a great positive attitude. Right on?
Right.
I mean, and that's how, and he goes, oh, okay, I got it. You know what I mean? And we don't appreciate that even, and we don't appreciate it not intentionally, but we just don't see it. Your heart wants to eat just like your taste buds want to eat, just like your little beady eyes see food and go, ooh, that looks good. Your heart and your body cells and your tissues do the same thing. And we want to make sure that we're feeding in to those tissues intentionally day in and day out. When's the last time you did a heart cleanse? When's the last time you got your heart valves checked? Well, at Living Well, we can do that. These are something cool things. You can't expect what you don't inspect. So we want to make sure that we're inspecting multiple facets of things in your body so that we can always keep you picking, quote unquote, the dirty weeds out of your garden instead of you having to hook up tow trucks to trees and pull them out because they're such big burdens for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look at the science of nutrition, right, you actually go to those anatomy and physiology and those pathways, and every single pathway in the body is completely dependent on all of these little nutrients being available at the right time, at the right place, and for hundreds and thousands and millions of cells all at the same time. And we just take it for granted, that when my heart pumps, it's going to make it all the way to my toes. But we also take it for granted that people are like, well, why do I need more B vitamins? Good grief, why do I need more B vitamins? It's funny, B5, the Latin name, comes from the word panacea, which means everywhere. B5 is everywhere. And I find it just fascinating that in a culture where we have access to an abundance of food, we have a situation where everybody's deficient in a vitamin that's everywhere. Should be in all of our foods, all of our natural foods, and it's just not. And so we want to have all these physiological responses. We want our body to do what it's supposed to do, but you can't see it. I think that's one of the things that makes it hard for us to stay the course all the time. We always think, I ate breakfast, isn't that good enough? Well, I don't know. It depends. If you were deficient in B vitamins from yesterday, or vitamin C, or vitamin D, or, if you're deficient yesterday, what's going to happen today? You're going to make up for it? Or you're just going to be a little more deficient, and a little more deficient, and a little more deficient. And this is where that foundation, when we don't have this foundation going in at the right rate every single day, the body is amazing, and it adapts, and it works around the deficiencies, and it keeps working around the deficiency, and it works around the deficiency.
But at some cost. There's always somebody's going to pay
exactly,
the piper
but
for that.
The cost is them coming in with the case of the suddenlies.
Yeah.
Right? People come to us all the time and they go, I've been eating this way since I was 25 and nothing's changed, and I gained 10 pounds and I'm tired and I don't, and you're like,
I have a guy that came in recently, and it's when he first came in, his system was so wrecked. He was so stressed. He was so, and I'm talking like physically stressed. I mean, exercise put him into a bad place. Exercise was not a good place for him. I mean, people go, that's heresy. How can you say that exercise is not good for you? I'm telling you that even a simple bike ride would derail this guy for 3 days. Like, he couldn't think, brain fog galore. He needed sleep to 4 or 5 times a day. I mean, I don't even know how he had laid down a job, and he's got a real important job. I mean, and interestingly, when he came in with the attitude, I've seen somebody like you before. I can't take any of those pills you give. And he starts blaming the pills, okay? Because beets are obviously bad for you, okay? Or carrots are obviously bad for you.
Not until you put them in a pill form. When you put them in a pill, then...
That's right. And I'm like, hey, I got it. No problem. We don't have to give you any pills, and that's no problem. And I didn't, But this is what I did do. Because I'm always trying to upregulate the system. I'm always attempting to find how, we talk about it spiritually. We need to feel along the soul of a man until we find the crack. And if we can get into the crack, we can start healing from the inside out biochemically. And so this guy, my what I felt is I could get to him via essential oil. And it was a simple essential oil. It was just straight peppermint. Rub some peppermint oil on his liver and his stomach because his bowels were wrecked. I mean, another one of these foundational principles that we have to address in all of us and make sure that you're addressing, and you need to be real with yourself: acid reflux, indigestion, bloating. If you eat and you feel like pregnant afterwards, that's not normal. If you eat and you're like tired afterwards, that's not normal. If you get acid reflux, indigestion, and you feel like this gremlin in your stomach and in your chest, that's not normal. You know, and so, and I know that people say, oh, it's normal, and don't worry, you can just stop at the convenience store and pick up a little tube of Tums, but it's not normal. That's just good marketing that has sold you a bill of goods. That is bad advertising. Great advertising, bad idea, bad solution. That is not the solution that you want to adopt for yourself. So what you want to do is recognize that in this guy's case, I had to drive blood flow to his stomach and to his liver to communicate with it from the outside world. Maybe psychologically because he wouldn't take a pill. I don't know. But for him, that's where we started. And it was literally like 15 drops is all he could handle on his robust belly, because he was a big dude, right? And then the next time he came in 2 weeks later. I did it again, and he goes, and it was like no progress. And all he's talking to me about is, I want to lose weight. I just need to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to change your diet, but I can't eat that, and I can't eat that, and I can't eat that. Okay, man, I mean, if only thing that you're telling me you can eat is fast food and pizza,
you ain't gonna lose weight.
You ain't gonna lose weight. Like you can't. It just doesn't. There's no way to make that work.
All those physiological pathways just aren't going to be driving.
And here we are, a year. I guess it's been a year now. He has no belly pain. He is taking more things than he was able to take orally, but still at micro doses. I mean, we're still like taking a water pistol to a forest fire. And so it's at this point, it's kind of more of a psychological place. We're really trying to help him evolve past that he can, that it's not going to hurt him. He just got this idea that they hurt him in the past, and it could be because somebody just pushed the detox evacuate button too quickly and didn't explain the process. A part of what we do is education. Is we don't want you to take stuff because we say take this and it's good for you. We want you to understand why you take it, so that you know that there is a program that we're trying to get across to your body cells, so that those cells will work like God created them to work. But what I know is happening is like he's still wants to lose more weight. He has lost weight, looks great. He's riding 15 miles a day on his bike, okay? And he's adjusting better than he's ever been able to adjust. And it's those little stair steps that got him this far down the line.
That proves,
get him
shows
farther.
a point. That's for some people, their system is sensitive.
And we have to respect that.
It's not just the psychology. There's a system issue that we start, if your body hasn't had nutrients for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years,
your whole
you've been
life.
living on
fake food
all this time, and you haven't had that, and you put in a little bit of minerals,
who knows what might happen?
Your system's going to turn on and respond, and it may give you a response. And we are programmed in our society that, if we get a response, that's a bad thing.
That's a side effect.
That's a bad thing. We shouldn't have a response. Our system shouldn't turn on like that. Let's keep it quiet. Let's not let the body do anything. Let's keep it quiet. Let's not let it fix.
But that's what drugs do, right? I mean, drugs really do suppress a lot of our quote-unquote body talk.
Right. And that's one of those things that's like, I want my body to tell me if something's going wrong.
Mm-hmm. Here's something that I've experienced. I've done the ultimate 21-day detox that Living Well and Dr. Chapa's put together. It's awesome. After that 21 days, whenever you reintroduce things to your diet, even things that you were able to eat before, your body may not agree with it the way that it did.
And let me ask you this: does it make you mad?
It doesn't make me mad. No, it doesn't make me mad.
It does make patients mad.
Some people get mad.
I can see how I could do this before perfectly just fine.
Yeah, they slap. Yeah, just like you did. They take that fist and they slam it on the table.
I understand that, but it doesn't make me.
You
did this to me, right?
You made me sensitive to dairy. No.
Right, I could do this before.
You always were sensitive to dairy. You just had
been accustomed to feeling.
You had been microdosing this toxin into your body every day, and your body just went, well, I guess this is what we have to live with.
Right.
We have to live with this toxicity. So if I have to live with this toxicity, I have to figure out where to store it, how to process it out, what to do with it, because it's coming in I can't make this guy stop, right? It's funny. animals, you know, they eat something wrong and they just throw it up and they just don't eat it again. They're smart. We go, I don't think that. I don't think it was the pizza, right? Like, I don't think it was that, and we just try again and try again.
Well, the other thing with that is we don't know what it is necessarily in the pizza. You know, maybe someone can process the dairy, or it's a healthier version of the pizza, or if it's the crust, the gluten, or what it is, unless you make it yourself. And what that 21-day detox does is it eliminates everything. And I've made the mistake. I've done it multiple times where I just I'm going all in, you know, on the first meal, and then I don't know what it was that specifically had the reaction.
They had the reaction, and that's something to really that you are learning, that when you come off of a detox. And even when we do just 2-week elimination programs, like, so people come in, they might not be ready for a detox, but we might take them off of a food inflammatory response suspect, and when we take them off that, say like it's wheat or dairy or corn or soy, and then we say, all right, you've been off of it for 2 weeks, and they go, well, not much has changed. Okay, they don't realize that they have symptom amnesia. They don't remember how bad they felt before. Let's go ahead and have a dairy day. Let's have a wheat day. Let's have a corn day. And they go and they put that thing back in, and boom, they have a immediate or a 72-hour response. And it is fascinating because what's really fascinating is sometimes they don't catch it. We catch it, but we have to educate them and show them. Now pay attention to the first several hours up to 72 hours. And look for skin rashes, headaches, sluggishness, brain fog, any of your old symptoms, heart palpitations. I had a kid come with a corn allergy, and he was having seizures, and they were going to do experimental brain surgery because they couldn't figure out, why he was having seizures. And, one of my mentors always says that seizures and corn are, corn allergies can be hand in hand. And so we took him off corn, and the seizures went away. Well, he goes and plays golf with his dad one day, and his dad feeds him some Frito chips, which I think are corn-based. And but whatever it was corn-based, and he has a seizure right out there on the golf course. Well, of course, everybody panics and flips out, and I get note of it. And sure enough, we ask the questions, and we figure out it was the Frito corn chips. And so in this case, it wasn't bad Fritos. It was just the corn in that particular patient was more than his little brain could tolerate, and it malfunctioned. And so he had an immediate response. Well, that pretty much woke him up.
The immediate response is easy to recognize. Sometimes
the easy one.
3 days.
It's the 24 the 48 to 72 hours. I used
where
to
it
have
gets a little hairy.
I had a patient one time who she had a response to beef, but it wasn't until 48 to 72 hours. But she had these intense migraines and could not figure it out. She didn't eat a lot of beef, but every now and then she would eat, go to a nice restaurant, have a nice steak, these kinds of things. But once the migraine starts, it would be there for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And once we started looking at that food log, inspecting what we were looking for, we started seeing it, and we found out. I was like, hey, I can't guarantee it, but let's just pull off the beef. And migraines miraculously disappeared. Miraculously. It wasn't miraculously. We just had to inspect it to find out what her system was responding to.
And that kind of brings us full circle back to where you and I started our dialogue this morning. Is we love the idea of trying to figure out the psychology of the patient. How do we get on their team, on their side of the table, and I mean, there's so much, as y'all recall from last week's episode. We can be fooled very easily in believing the narratives and the statistics and the stuff floating around in our society. And it's very difficult to know what's right, what's true. And even for us as researchers and clinical trench workers trying to help y'all navigate what next logical step is right for you, because what's right for you might not be right for your family member or your loved one or your friend or whoever you refer in, which, by the way, we always appreciate and will never take for granted people trusting us with their health and vitality, and it's very, very special to us. It's a sacred space that we love. And but it comes back down to, in all of it, in all the generic science, in all the research that's being done, you are an individual. And the one conversation, the one educational nugget, the one idea that you can apply today, that you can apply tomorrow and be consistent with time and time again is what we really want to stay focused on. Let's not make health hard. It's hard enough, being socially accepted and people actually building friend groups around food. It's got to be a kind of a weird, definite weird first world problem to be outcasted because you don't eat like everybody else in your social circle. And what if you're not being outcasted? Those people just really don't want to feel bad, and they found that when they eat that or they eat that or they eat that, they feel bad. So they've made a conscious, intentional choice for themselves, and trying not to be, pushy. They don't want to push their ways on you, but they won't deviate. People say all the time, especially in the religious, ideas that you're supposed to eat whatever's put before you, just pray over it to be fine. Dude, if you put a bowl of fettuccine Alfredo before me, I just ruined
get to deal with it for
the next week. That's not a good plan for me. One meal, and it should be only 3 days, right, of suffering. But no way, no how. I that would just completely and utterly blow this little system up, and I just don't have that luxury to sacrifice a week for one social event. Not cool for me. So I make choices based around how I've learned food affects me. So the question is are you simply, another tool that you can do today, tomorrow, the next day, is log your food. See what you eat. Oh, I eat great, Dr. Chapa. Right, up until you log it. Then you go, and the people go, I seem to eat so much better when I log.
It was just a different week, though.
It was just, this was an off week.
This was an off week.
Right.
I think we have about 35 off weeks in our year. and then the rest are pretty good, right?
That's the thing is, if we could just be a little bit more intentional, because there's so much fake food, make-believe food out there, we could navigate a lot of the biochemical issues that are going on in our bodies, because we're intentional with our water, we're intentional with the basics, vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids. Let's not make it hard, and log your food, and let's just see, what are you eating for breakfast? What are you putting in at lunch? What fuel source are you reaching for mid-afternoon to get to 5? You have patterns just like my dogs have patterns. You have patterns just like your kids need a pattern. We're a routine. I had a teacher in 9th grade, English professor. He would always talk about we are creatures of
habit.
And I never wanted to. I'm like, no, I'm not a creature. I'm a human,
and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and then until I realized over the years that, dang it, man, people never do what they want to do. They only do what they know how to do. Well, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we desire to educate you one conversation at a time. It's just like the starfish. It means a lot to that one starfish to have that one conversation. Look for the one nugget. Don't look for the full map, the full picture. It's too overwhelming. It's like trying to climb. If you saw what I do to be healthy at, over 20 years in this game, you might not want to play. But if you saw what I did to get here, you're like, oh, that didn't seem like it was that big of a deal. Yeah. One step,
build
one step,
build
one
a better
step,
habit,
one
step at a time. Build a better habit, one step at a time. Build the future that you want by taking one step today.
And it goes back to, what's our favorite analogy, Gardy, you and I love talking about?
Is it about an oak tree?
It might be, Gardy. It might be. When is the best time to plant the oak tree?
30 years ago.
It is. 30 years ago is definitely a great time. However, we can't go back in time. So when might be the next best time?
Tuesday, 10:02 a.m.
Absolutely.
Wherever you're at.
Right now.
Yeah, right now.
Even amongst
the ground's
crazy.
Soft. You'll be able to dig the hole easier.
That's true.
I like that. I totally dig that. That's right. And so you can take and dig in your fruitful, your healthy soil. You have more healthy soil in there than you realize. Your body is growing healthy crops in the form of organs, tissues, glands, and they will fire and function better together if you get them all synergizing. Stephen Covey talks about synergizing, sharpening the saw, bringing all the pieces together. We want to make sure that at Living Well, we're helping you put the big rocks in that make the biggest dent, the biggest impact for you. You know, maybe that's a food allergy elimination program. Maybe that's a blood sugar detox 10-day program. Maybe that's the ultimate detox program. Maybe it's a cardiovascular cleanse. Maybe you need to come just do an in-body. You know what I mean? And just get an idea of your water levels.
Assess.
And
just assess.
Sometimes you don't want to know. It's like, I know it's not going to be good.
Why do you think that is, though?
Because I could tell you this, because I've experienced it. Whenever, like, I look at, you know, where I was maybe a year ago or pre-COVID, and then look at the changes that have been, you know, maybe forced, not forced, my own decision, and looking where I'm at now, I was like, well, I was in much better shape back then. I don't want to face the reality of the numbers because then it's real.
So what did you guys talk about? Your favorite analogy?
The tree.
It's the oak tree.
Right? So maybe the best time was a year and a half ago when COVID started, but maybe the next
starting
best
now.
Don't you hate it when Withy just drops the bomb on us like that?
Well,
I mean, but the
you
truth
guys just
there, right?
You just like softball. We call this softball.
Well, you know, and that is the thing is we have patients that in our food coaching Macrofix program. By the way, if you guys don't know about our Macrofix program, we had a great class last night. Even amongst the storm, we had to shift it to Zoom because we weren't sure if we were going to get blown away or washed away. So we decided just to keep it digital. And but we are doing these classes on the regular. And our normal class. We have our thyroid class coming up. You know, what is it? Next Tuesday night. We want to make sure that if you've got thyroid conditions, everybody you know has a thyroid condition. There's reasons for that. We want to talk about that. We have a great class in store for those. It'll be Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center.
Next Tuesday.
That's right. Next Tuesday,
today.
Not tonight. Next Tuesday. But our Macrofix program, I have a guy that's in the program, and you know when he started, he was like gung ho and full bore. I'm logging everything. I'm going to do this. Thanks for setting this up. Da 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 da. And I've noticed the last 3 or 4 days he hasn't been. Actually, was it 4 days or 5? It might have been 5 days, but let's just say it's 4. We'll be conservative. And he hasn't been logging his food. And I'm like, this guy was supposed to be the guy. Like he was supposed to be the one that didn't. He was ready. And now Jennifer and I were just talking, and I'm just sitting here going, why won't he log his food? And she goes, he doesn't want you to know what he's eating. And I'm like, why? Because or drinking, or consume. You know what I mean? Like he's into something, and his in-body showed it. His in-body didn't change.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've only been on the program 2 weeks, and you haven't been logging, 4 days, 6 days. You might be shocked, like you're saying, is that you don't want to be shocked when it didn't change.
People don't want to know because they already know.
I know,
like but you already know, right?
But I'm so different. Like I would rather just.
Well, you are very different.
I'd rather.
I mean, if you're going to give me that softball too.
Yeah, fine. You can have it. I just go and say to myself, like, man, I'd rather just evaluate, inspect. Maybe that's the adaptation that I've created for myself. Is I always want to get on the scale, if you will. I always want to be evaluated. I guess that's
because you don't let it define you, though, right?
That's right.
It just gives you a compass to look forward. It's not a definition. So many people define themselves by what that scale says,
accurate.
And that's not why we want to do that. That's not why we want to look at your food log. I'm not defining you by your food.
Yes.
I'm just trying to help you navigate and find that. If all we do is pull that one food out and now you don't have migraines,
it might be all you wanted.
I mean,
also it feels like a bad grade.
Yeah.
You know, like that. You know, it goes back to school. Like, hey, I don't want to show my parents my report card, right? You know, it's like, oh, I made a bad grade in this class. I'm gonna hide it and not show my.
Well, and I guess that's true there because I have patients that come in and go, I thought you were gonna yell at me.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Right.
Like legitimately thought I was going to be mad and condemn and I'm like, have I ever done that? And they go, no. I said, well, why would I do that?
Might.
Because that's what. But that's what they're used to, right? I remember
the world beats you up.
I remember when my special needs daughter, when she was very, very sick, she had a 70-degree curve in her back, and I went to the pulmonologist, the lung doctor, and he gave me this plan, and it was like 3 or 4 hours worth of work every day, and I was like,
right,
this ain't happening.
Right.
Like, I mean, I gotta feed kids, I gotta do laundry, I gotta sleep at some point. There is no way this is happening. We just, I beat myself up, walked into that treatment room, And he says, well, how's it going? Now, this doctor doesn't know that I have any other kid, doesn't know any other responsibility. And he says, how's this going? And I said, it ain't happening. And he goes, oh, well, we'll find another way then.
And you were probably terrified.
And I was like,
going into the
right.
visit.
And I think that's our motto, right? And so just it reminds me of what we try to do. It's like, oh, then we're going to find another way. And so when somebody has challenges, can't take a supplement, can't do this, can't do that, we just keep navigating around till we find a way to get the program started.
That's
and
right.
some people, I had a gal in on Friday, and I mean, we had to adapt her program on Friday when she was there. Friday afternoon after her first dose, we adapted. Friday evening, we adapted again. Sunday morning, I get an email, we adapted again. Yesterday, we adapted again. We're going to adapt because she has to get started. And getting started sometimes, figuring out where you're at and getting started is a challenge.
And that's exciting. For us, we like being puzzle solvers. For people, that freaks them out, right? Because they expect like it just to be like, oh, I'm starting the program. It should work perfectly, right? They don't recognize that there is it's biochemistry. Like, we are building a recipe, and sometimes I remember when I was taking biochemistry. No, it was not biochemistry. It was organic chemistry, and Dr. John was my teacher, and he is this Indian fella, and he was so smart. You couldn't understand him, but he seemed so smart. And
you were pretty sure he was
I was pretty sure he was
important
smart.
stuff.
But I remember just really, because I really wanted to learn chemistry, because I don't know, I've always enjoyed chemistry, and I messed up one of my labs, and I literally got this bubbling project in front of me, and I flubbed it, and I was afraid. I was like, Dr. John's going to kill me, and I'm going to fail. It goes, I guess there is this psychology of we don't like failing and then confessing our failures because it means that we suck, and in the moment.
Sinners saved by grace.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Heaven
Praise
forbid
you, Jesus.
that we would be sinners saved by grace.
And anyway, I called Dr. John over, and Dr. John, I said, Dr. John, I screwed it up. I'm sorry, He goes, no problem, my friend. We can fix this. And I'm like, we can? He goes, it's a recipe. He goes, I got to know a little out of this and a little out of that, and a twist here and a twist there and a pinch of that, and boom.
Fettuccine Alfredo.
Just as you wish. And we're literally, he added, and it helped me realize that, yeah, you can increase the volume of this, you can decrease the volume of this by increasing the volume of this, and we can change the chemical reactions. And I'm sitting there watching this master manipulate this project, and I go, like, I'm literally like starstruck. Now I'm like, he's really the man. You know? I'm like, Yoda just showed up in my life, And I go, how did you do that, Dr. John? He goes, when you've seen it 1,000 times, it's easy. You've never seen this before, it's hard, So for the new patient, it's hard for you to realize that we've seen this 1,000 times. We know that we know that we know. We can help you navigate the terrain of the landmines. We can turn over the stones. We can help you solve your medical mystery, because it is your medical mystery. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be defined by that medical mystery. You can do things, and if you're patient enough, I tell patients every day, all the time, I try to teach all of my staff to say these words. If you stick with it long enough and you follow through with the recommendations to the best of your ability, you will get better. Everybody does. Why do I know that's true? Because I've seen it 1,000 times. Just because you can't see what I can't see, it's the same as we don't know what we don't know. I don't know how brilliant you are with the strings on a bass guitar or a regular guitar or pianos or the notes, or when you and I and Serge comes in here and we just start talking shop, and it's a language, and you guys know your language. I don't know that language, but I'm fascinated. I'm like, wow. Or to know that there is a way that the master can show up and can tweak and nurture and manipulate and adapt and help the body biochemically adapt to make a symphony, a masterpiece come out in the form of good health. And that's it. It's a joy. Like, we enjoy that process. We enjoy that challenge. And so I just want to encourage folks, wherever you're at, whatever you're dealing with, there is a solution. And you just got to be willing to go down that road and be open to learning one new piece of knowledge a week, one new piece of knowledge a day, whatever your bandwidth is tolerant to, and then reapplying that nugget, reapplying it day in and day out, and trusting the process. Just like Jennifer said, you know what? I don't like it. I can't do it, but I can't tell you it won't work if I won't try it. And she tries it, and she does it, and she sticks with it, and sticks with it. And all of a sudden, she is seeing changes happen in her own body, in her own health. And it evolved her to a place where she got the bug. She realized how much she was suffering in her own right and how there was a way out. And she was able to navigate the terrain out of the shallows and get back into those deep waters where the true adventure lies.
Dr. Chapa, you were talking about, music and the language, and I wonder if you would have taken your life and dedicated it instead, nutrition, if things were different, back
in another life.
In another life, you're a master musician with the same passion that you have for just anything, just different things, like, whether that's music or anything else.
And it's true, but there's a guy, I think he's the one of the original guys in Daft Punk. I know they broke up or whatever, but that punk band, I found this thing, and he was talking about how he desired to be a musician, but not just any musician. He wanted to be a composer of music, and he talked about his story. And while he's got this beat in the background,
yeah,
I mean it's legit. It's like a story within a story. The music is the story, but his story is inlaid in it. And he's talking about the struggle, and he goes, and then one day, I realized. I didn't have to. Once I appreciated some of these rudimentary fundamentals of the foundation of music, I no longer had to worry about harmony. I no longer had to worry about what note to hit next. I knew I could create anything. Oh, I was like, boom, that's my heartbeat, man, for nutrition and biochemistry. And whether it's neurology, where I'm manipulating a bone in the body to upregulate the thyroid or turn on the cranial nerves or to activate, a tissue, or to take a supplement. And every time I teach you to take this, I heard, Matt say at the front desk, well, Dr. Chop always says, when in doubt,
Congaplex it out.
Congaplex it out.
Right.
Golly, that makes me happy, because it's proven. It works every time. Do I have scientific papers on that? I'm sorry, I don't have those. However, I've got 20 plus years and mentors upon mentors that have used this product, over 80,000 different subjects, humans, that we've been able to see that it works over and over and over. It just trusts the process. It's just like Novocaine. Give it time, and it always works. And but in this case, we're talking about Congaplex, and it's just so cool. And I think that, but in that, just like anything, you've got to find something that you're passionate about and fall in love with it. And when you fall in love with the process of learning the new skill, success is assured, one of my mentors always says. And I want to believe that, and I really want to keep that attitude that no matter what people are going through, no matter where they started or where they how they fell off the wagon, dude, we're already praying for you. I pray for patients today that are with us. I pray for patients that haven't made it to us just yet, that we can continue to be a beacon of light to call them back in, or to call them in, and for the people that have come in the past that aren't with us right now for whatever reason, that they would come back. Because I truly believe the fundamental principle, if you stick with it long enough, you follow through the recommendations to the best of your ability, you're going to be in a far better place whenever it's all said and done than if you did nothing at all.
Something else that what you were mentioning reminded me of, there was a musician that I talked to, and he was great, been playing, went to school for it, all the degrees and everything, and I always asked him, I said, how do you never mess up? Because I would listen to him play live all the time, never messed up. He's like, oh, I do, I just know the workaround to make it flow. No, the average person,
doesn't even hear
musician,
we don't even hear it.
You're not even going to notice it. And that's kind of what that reminded me of, like
Special.
that, just putting it in,
Special.
It's still okay. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, when I saw you talk about fettuccine Alfredo, I saw like this look in your eyes I had never seen before. And so I put a comment up here. I said, we should do like a Fear Factor type thing with fettuccine Alfredo and Dr. Chapa. I don't know the details of all this, but I just saw this look in your eyes. You're like, a bowl of fettuccine. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's for sure. We'll have to talk about that on another show and see where that one might unfold. But, Gardy, it's been a fantastic morning. And I'm so glad that, weather permitting, that we almost didn't get to have our show, if we wouldn't have been able to get here this morning. But yet we made it happen. And we got to have, Mama J in the house. I mean, how cool and blessed are we that Jennifer was with us here this morning. And she, it's just very, it's awesome that, God always brings a powerful show every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 in the KHEA Radio and Living Well show. And it's just something that I hope that you guys share this with your friends, family, and loved ones. There is a nugget or two or three or four here in every show.
And all you need is one.
Do. And all you need is one.
One to change today.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And that's a great piece of wisdom right there, is all you need is one.
And you can go back and listen to this on the Living Well Clinical Nutrition Podcast. You can just search "Just Live Well" or just type out the name of the of Living Well Clinical Nutrition on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. It'll come up, and that will be uploaded here in a bit. So,
all right. Well, God bless you guys. We're excited that today's a good day, and we're going to get through it together. In Jesus' name, amen.
This is KHEA Radio 99.